Hi, folks. I'm back and very, very excited to review this week's film, which is one of my personal favorites, 12 Angry Men, directed by one of my personal favorite directors, Sidney Lumet. Now, last week I discussed how difficult it is um, to adapt a novel to the screen. And if that's difficult, to adapt a play is even more tricky, because you can imagine a play is normally set indoors. So you've got this huge problem of how on earth do you put a story that's primarily set indoors, how do you make it cinematic? Plus you've got the problem of, as a play is a story told with words, so there's tons of dialogue, and film is a story told with pictures. So it's a complete conflict of styles. How do you make it work? Sidney Lumet was one of the greatest exponents of this. This film is set in one room where a group of 12 jurors decide on the fate of a boy. Now, I mean, this would freak out any normal director, but Sidney Lumet actually saw it as being an advantage, because he saw it as being, I can actually use this to my advantage and create the sense of entrapment that these men feel, and I can make the room smaller, and I'll discuss how he does that a bit later. But Sidney Lumet had a passion for theatre. His father, Baruch Lumet, was a stage actor in New York. And so he grew up in the theatre, and he ended up adapting so many great plays to the screen. He did Tennessee Williams' Orpheus Descending, which he made as The Fugitive Kind with Marlon Brando. He did two of Eugene O'Neill's plays, Iceman Cometh and Long Day's Journey into Night. He did Peter Shaffer's Equus. He did Chekhov, did many. And he just had a knack of making plays cinematic. Now, 12 Angry Men, the story is about 12 jurors who have to decide on the fate of this 18-year-old boy who's been accused of stabbing his father. And the judge explicitly tells the men that if there's any kind of reasonable doubt, there should be a not guilty decision. But if there's no reasonable doubt, then he must be found guilty. And of course, the punishment is death. So the life of this boy is in these 12 men's hands. And unfortunately, many of the men really don't care. You know, once we get inside the room, you suddenly see the personalities and clashes of these 12 distinctly different personalities. The one guy, Juror 7, just wants to go and watch the baseball game. He's like, let's get out of here. Most of them are just like, the evidence is overwhelming. The boy, one of the neighbors, a woman from a nearby apartment, saw the boy stab the father. Another neighbor heard the boy say to the father, I'll kill you. There was the switchblade. All these pieces of evidence, it seems overwhelming. So they take a vote, and it comes back, one person has said not guilty. Now, of course, these men are furious because they want to go home. Like, who would decide not guilty? The evidence is overwhelming. And Henry Fonda, who plays Juror 8, stands up and he says, I'm the one who said not guilty, because I'm just not sure. There's a few things that trouble me. And I can't, in all conscience, say, guilty. So they discuss it further, and he is not able to convince them. And so he says to them, look, let's take a secret ballot. And I'll abstain. And if the other 11 of you find the boy still guilty, then I will acquiesce. So they take the secret ballot, and it's 10. Somebody has said not guilty. And of course, pandemonium breaks out, because now they're furious. Who on earth said 10? And start accusing each other. And slowly but surely, the personalities, the morals, the ethics, the motivations, the prejudices of these 12 characters are stripped away, and they are exposed as human beings. It's the most extraordinary piece of writing. Slowly but surely, these men are faced with who they are and what their motivations are, and they have to face their lack of humanity. And it becomes this cat and mouse game, then the numbers start changing. It's 3 people said not guilty, 4 people, but they have to, they've got to justify why they said, not just because they want to go home. And so it goes on. and it's this cat and mouse game. One Juror, I think it is 3, because they aren't called by their names in the film. They're just called by Juror 1, Juror 2. Juror 3 is Lee J. Cobb. So it's an explosive character, and he just is belligerent. He will not relent. This boy is guilty. So, it will be a hung jury unless he can be convinced. The tension in this movie is palpable. Lumet creates the most incredible tension and does this through superb, absolutely ingenious direction. So what he wanted to do is make the room seem smaller as the story goes on. So he did this by using different lenses. So it goes from a 28 to a 40 mil, then it moves to a 50 mil, 75 mil, eventually 100 mil. You've got these men in unparalleled, sweaty close-ups, exposing every lie, every little quirk of personality is laid bare. And not only did he do that, is that he took the first third of the film and he put the camera above eye level. The second third, he put the camera, brought it down, put it at eye level precisely. And the last third of the film, he puts below eye level. So then you actually see the roof in the shots. And it created a sense of not only is the wall closing in on these characters, but even the ceiling. And it creates an incredible sense of claustrophobia. So ingenious direction. Lumet was famous for what he called lens plots. He was the first director to really kind of bring it to the fore. I'm going to talk a lot about Sidney Lumet movies coming up. He directed some of the greatest films ever. Network, Dog Day Afternoon, The Verdict. Over 50 feature films. And he was brilliant with working with actors. I think in all his films there was something like 18 Oscar nominations and 4 or 5 wins. So brilliant with actors. In fact, what he did, which was absolutely ingenious, was that he would rehearse the actors 2 weeks before, chronologically, in a hall in New York. So he actually rehearsed a film like a stage play. So the actors were able to understand their arcs from beginning to end. I mean, I know as an actor myself, and the movies that I've done, is that, you come in and your first day on the shoot is your last scene as the character. It's really difficult. How do you get that continuity of character? You got to come in cold. Whereas Lumet rehearsed it like a stage play before they shot a single frame, and so that every actor knew his character's arcs. And he did that with every movie that he made. Absolutely brilliant. The performances are sublime. Henry Fonda, one of his greatest performances, won a BAFTA. Lee J. Cobb, absolutely superb as this belligerent, angry, explosive character who has a secret of his own, which is only revealed at the end, the reason why he's saying no. Jack Klugman, who plays Juror 5, who's kind of had a violent past, and so he understands the boy. Juror 4, E.G. Marshall, is this very unflappable accountant type character. Juror 1, Martin Balsam, a very level-headed. Juror 7, Jack Warden, who plays this wisecracking salesman who just wants to go and watch the baseball, couldn't care about this kid's fate. Juror 10, Ed Begley, who's like this xenophobic, loudmouth garage owner. You've got all these explosive personalities in one room debating this. And the script is so superbly written. I mean, it's like an Agatha Christie. The revelations, the twists and turns that happen in this film, all set in one room. It's absolutely phenomenal. The AFI, the American Film Institute, called it one of the 2 greatest courtroom dramas of all time, together with To Kill a Mockingbird. It's in the top 10 films of all time on so many different lists. This is one of the greatest classics of all time, a 1957 movie directed by Sidney Lumet, 12 Angry Men. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. This is a magnificent film. Truly, truly one of the great classics of cinema. Everything to recommend it. Boris Kaufman's cinematography, Sidney Lumet's astute direction, absolutely ingenious. Should have won an Oscar. I mean, way, way, way ahead of his time with this lens plot idea. The performances, the script, Reginald Rose, who wrote the original play, actually won a Directors Guild, Writers Guild of America award for this. This is just a movie to watch and watch and watch again. Absolutely enthralling, captivating, and fascinating.